Making your first million has nothing to do with luck, inheritance, or a high IQ. And yes, almost everything you've been told about money is probably wrong. Most people work hard and still stay broke. Why? Because they haven't realized that wealth is a mental frequency, not physical effort. Bob Proctor spent decades teaching this. Those who build fortunes aren't the smartest. They're the ones who decide differently. If you're waiting to earn more before you take action, you're already behind. Money flows to those who move toward it. And no, you don't need a million-dollar idea. You need a decision charged with conviction. In this video, you'll discover what really separates those who hit their first million from those who always feel almost there. Spoiler, it's not what you think. He used to say with disarming simplicity, if you remove the people from a company, all that's left is a building full of stuff. And it made perfect sense. No strategy works without committed people. The soul of a business doesn't live in the logo, the polished website, or the systems. It lives in those who wake up believing they can make a difference. When Bob Proctor said this, he wasn't just reflecting. He was describing the living pulse of his own company. The most powerful example: Mikey. She started as a nanny with zero business experience, but a deep hunger to grow. Curious, she once asked Bob what he was reading and absorbed every word he shared. And it wasn't light reading. It was the Edinburgh Lectures of Mental Science. While many would hesitate, she dove in. That student mindset led her to become Chief Operating Officer and Marketing Director, not by luck, but by transformation. Bob believed a company's true wealth isn't what it owns, but who it raises. And when you witness someone like Mikey rise, you realize that the most valuable investment is in human development. Want to grow your team? Start by gifting books like Think and Grow Rich. Host weekly study sessions and encourage each person to map their own growth plan. Because your next leader might be quietly waiting for their chance. Mikey didn't step into the business world with a degree, connections, or a fancy plan. She brought something rarer: humility to learn and discipline to grow. Coming from a background as a nanny with zero business experience, she had only one tool: an unshakable curiosity. While most people limit themselves to their role, Mikey treated every moment like a classroom. And that student mindset changed her life. Bob Proctor noticed something unique about her during a seminar. When she asked what book he was reading, the book, the Edinburgh Lectures of Mental Science, deep, technical, and not easy for beginners. She didn't just accept it. She read it, studied it, applied it. She dove into paradigms, vibration, and subconscious programming, not because she had to, but because she chose to. What started as curiosity became a focused obsession with growth. Over time, Mikey became a core executive of the company's global operation. A woman who once didn't even know what marketing meant became the director of marketing. That proves success isn't about where you start. It's about how far you're willing to go. While most people wait for the right course or perfect timing, Mikey did the opposite. She owned her space and became excellent where she was. And she wasn't the only one. At first glance, Tommy Kohler didn't seem like someone destined for creative leadership. He had a background in consulting, meticulous, detail-oriented, maybe even too methodical for the fluid world of ideas. But that precision became his superpower. When Bob invited him to lead the creative department, Tommy didn't try to fit in. He brought his analytical lens to transform abstract concepts into powerful visual experiences. He was the kind of professional who wouldn't leave a single comma out of place. He reviewed scripts, refined presentations, and gave life to the more elusive aspects of Proctor's philosophy. The bridge between creative vision and strategic execution. A living masterclass in how sensitivity and structure can not only coexist, but amplify each other. Where most artists get lost in aesthetics, Tommy delivered clarity. He proved that creativity doesn't need to be chaotic. It can be structured, organized, even predictable to a point. That mindset allowed the team to keep consistency across every company asset, from design to messaging. If you want to stand out as a creative professional today, Tommy's path is clear. Sharpen your eye, master the details, and obsess over quality. Those who master the micro inevitably lead the macro. Arash Baghi didn't start with big numbers or an impressive resume. In fact, he was barely earning $1,000 a month when he came across Bob's teachings. But what he had was fire in his chest. Arash wanted more, and not only did he want it, he believed he could get it. That quiet conviction, combined with disciplined study, turned him into one of the best salesmen and leaders Bob has ever known. Arash mastered something few people do, the vibration of desire. He understood that sales are not just about tactics, but about frequency, the energy you bring to every interaction. Every call, every meeting, every presentation was delivered with intention. And when intention is aligned with purpose, results ignite. He proved that the starting point doesn't matter. What matters is your commitment to the next step. Today, Arash is a benchmark. Inspirational, practical, and strategic. He leads with the wisdom of someone who's been at the bottom and built his own ladder, one step at a time. His success wasn't an accident. It was a result. And if there's one thing he shows in every conversation, it's that real human power isn't about raw talent, but the decision to develop it every single day. The same decision that guided Jen and Joshua. Jen and Joshua started with what many people have. Nothing but willpower. No capital, no inheritance, no guarantees. What set them apart was hunger, a nearly spiritual hunger to prove it was possible. They didn't come from the top, they came from the ground up. And maybe that's why they built something so extraordinary, a massive company, respected, admired, with millions in revenue and a solid foundation of purpose. Jen, in particular, became the top figure in network marketing, a woman who defied the odds and rose to the top with strategy and heart. But none of this was overnight. They applied everything Bob taught: mindset, decision, vibration, and most of all, consistency. If you're looking for a blueprint on how to build something from nothing, just watch what Jen and Joshua did, step by step, with discipline and vision. What's most impressive isn't the money they made, but the culture they built. They lead with truth, clarity, and soul. They prove that growth doesn't require sacrificing your essence. They showed that true leadership is born when personal success becomes a bridge to collective elevation. And that kind of impact only happens when the journey begins from within, just like Bob's did. Bob Proctor wasn't born into privilege. On the contrary, he was the kind of man who could barely keep gas in his car, earning less than he owed, carrying a sick body and a mind with no direction. He even admitted, "I didn't know I could change my results." And that's where many people can relate. How many today live like that, trapped in a cycle that seems unbreakable? The turning point came with a simple gesture. Someone believed in him. Ray Stanford, a mentor, handed him a book, Think and Grow Rich, and an idea: you can change your life. Bob didn't believe in himself, but he believed that Ray believed. And that was enough. He started small, cleaning offices with a mop and a fixed idea: go higher. Within 5 years, he turned a $4,000 income into over $1 million per year. This story isn't told to impress. It's told to reveal a principle. Because when Bob talks about paradigm shifts, he's not being philosophical. He's describing a real, personal, repeatable experience. He lived what many are living now and made it through. But what exactly caused that shift? What turned a broke man into a global leader? That brings us to the next point. Bob Proctor's turning point didn't come from a bigger paycheck or a lucky break. It came from an internal shift. He realized that success doesn't rely on physical effort, but on mental alignment. That breaks a common belief, doesn't it? Because so many people work hard but stay stuck, simply because they haven't worked on what really matters: the mind. Bob discovered the secret wasn't to do more, but to think better. At that moment, he made a decision: I'll do whatever it takes. With a bucket, a broom, and a renewed purpose, he started cleaning offices. The job was simple, but the thinking was elevated. It wasn't about the task. It was about the mental energy behind it. And that's what slowly changed everything. When he says success is mental, he's speaking from lived experience. This turning point is where most people freeze, because it demands belief before evidence, action before certainty. Bob made the decision to trust, not in external conditions, but in an internal vision still taking shape. And that's when the deeper truth emerged: paradigms. Because deciding once isn't enough. You need to understand what's silently sabotaging your progress. And now, things start to get serious. This is the moment where everything shifts, not just for Bob, but for anyone seeking real transformation. A paradigm is that invisible system that controls your actions without your awareness. It's like an autopilot programmed by old beliefs, past experiences, and repeated behaviors. Bob realized that unless he rewired that inner operating system, no external result would last. So, how do you change a paradigm? There are two ways: conscious repetition of new ideas, or a powerful emotional impact. Bob chose repetition. He read, listened, studied every single day. It was like washing his mind. And it worked, because repetition installs new truths in the subconscious, building a strong emotional base to take different and more consistent action. That silent shift is what made the old version of Bob disappear. And it wasn't magic. It was method. Paradigms resist, pull you back, sabotage you subtly. But once you understand the game, you start playing by different rules. And that's exactly when Bob realized changing the paradigm raises your level of awareness. And when your awareness shifts, brand new horizons start to appear. Wanting is not enough. Wanting something deeply won't change anything if belief isn't there. Bob used to say that desire is the engine, but belief is the ignition key. Without it, the car doesn't move. How many times have you wanted something with all your heart, but deep down, you didn't truly believe it was possible? That inner conflict blocks momentum, and that's why so many people feel stuck. But when true belief meets real desire, something powerful happens. You stop waiting for external signs and start acting with certainty, and that changes everything. A simple example: instead of saying, "One day I'll have my business," you start behaving like someone already building it. You network, study leadership, wake up early, save money. Not from pressure, but from conviction. And that conviction is rooted in discipline, because real belief demands consistent action. Bob taught that discipline is giving yourself a command and not following through. Is it easy? Not at all. But it's in that daily commitment that desire becomes achievement. And once that fire really starts burning, it naturally leads to a deeper question. What else do I need to shift to unlock my full potential? Changing a paradigm isn't like flipping a switch. It's more like reprogramming an entire operating system while it's still running. Bob taught that there are two ways: conscious repetition and emotional impact. Most people wait for the latter, thinking they need something big, almost traumatic, to finally move. But the real power lies in repetition, persistent, almost stubborn repetition. Imagine listening to the same audio for months, writing down the same phrases daily, surrounding yourself with the same ideas until they're no longer external. They become part of you. It sounds simple, but it takes commitment. That's exactly what Bob did. He treated the old paradigm like a sabotaging program that needed to be replaced line by line, thought by thought. And once the replacement begins, the mind resists. The old pattern fights back, tries to sabotage, brings doubt, insecurity, even apathy. But that's when the power of decision shows up. The person who decides to change a paradigm must be more persistent than the old mind. Over time, that new code stabilizes. It's through this process that many lives reach new levels, and the next phase starts to reveal itself. Changing a paradigm isn't like flipping a switch. It's more like reprogramming an entire operating system while it's still running. Bob taught that there are two ways: conscious repetition and emotional impact. Most people wait for the latter, thinking they need something big, almost traumatic, to finally move. But the real power lies in repetition, persistent, almost stubborn repetition. Imagine listening to the same audio for months, writing down the same phrases daily, surrounding yourself with the same ideas until they're no longer external. They become part of you. It sounds simple, but it takes commitment. That's exactly what Bob did. He treated the old paradigm like a sabotaging program that needed to be replaced line by line, thought by thought. And once the replacement begins, the mind resists. The old pattern fights back, tries to sabotage, brings doubt, insecurity, even apathy. But that's when the power of decision shows up. The person who decides to change a paradigm must be more persistent than the old mind. Over time, that new code stabilizes. It's through this process that many lives reach new levels, and the next phase starts to reveal itself. Everything begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't recognize. Bob used to say that life change doesn't come from physical effort, but from frequency shift. And what does that look like in practice? It means thinking on a higher level, acting like someone who's already there. Your environment, your conversations, even your tone of voice reveal the mental station you're tuned into. And that's exactly what you attract, and no one tunes into excellence alone. Mentors shorten the journey. Carnegie planted the vision in Napoleon Hill. Earl Nightingale expanded Bob's mind, and Bob lit that same fire in thousands of others. Each mentor is both a mirror and a shortcut. You need someone to point out what you don't yet see and demand more from you than you would from yourself. That mix of elevated awareness and mentor presence radically transforms a person's path. But it only works if there's humility to learn and courage to break from the average. Frequency aligns through presence, thought, and decision. Bob's recurring question was, are you thinking like someone who already has what they want, or just waiting for things to change on their own? There comes a point when you can't keep waiting for the right time. Bob always said, decide first. Everything else will align later. Most people are stuck waiting for the money, the time, or someone else's approval. But winners decide and act. And that decision, made with real intention, shifts your vibration. And where vibration shifts, reality begins to transform. The law of vibration comes before the law of attraction. What you feel, think, and believe is vibrating constantly, like a radio signal. If you vibrate scarcity, you attract more of it. If you vibrate courage, focus, prosperity, doors begin to open where there were only walls. Bob taught that it's not magic, it's science. You emit, you attract. And the first step is to operate as if you already are what you want to become. And finally, the golden lesson. You don't need the money first. When you truly want something, you find the money, the people, the path. It's as if the universe responds to your inner certainty. But it won't respond to lukewarm desire, doubt, or fear disguised as logic. What changes a life is a decision made with your whole heart. So the real question is, are you ready to make that decision now? So tell me this, what's going to be different starting today? Will you keep waiting for the perfect conditions, or will you do what few are willing to? Decide with conviction. Everything you learned here only matters if you apply it. So grab a piece of paper, write where you are and where you want to go. Then ask yourself, what's the first move someone who's already there would make? Now act like that person. Most people never get rich because they never truly decide. They live in someday I'll do it, when I have time, when I have money. That day never comes. Don't let that be your story. You already have the knowledge. What's missing is the movement. So, will you become the person you want to be, or just keep wishing you were? If this made sense to you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you'll learn what school never taught: how to create wealth with your mind, not with blind effort.